Hello and welcome to the Behind a Blockchain podcast. My guest today is Gorazd Ocvirk, co-founder of Helix Markets. Gorazd, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good, I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to this.
No problem. Gorazd, for people who don't know who you are, could you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. My name is Gorazd. I've been working nonstop in blockchain now for the last 7 years. My early career was actually not in crypto or IT. I was working in consulting. So I worked for big four companies. I worked for AT Kearney. But I was always sort of like a geeky tech guy, so kind of was naturally drawn to crypto. And there was also one of my roles at Deloitte was to run a blockchain lab in Central Europe. So like around 2017, 2018, I was working a lot with Gen 1 ICOs. That's where I got hooked on blockchain and crypto. Later on, I switched from consulting into banking. So I joined Signum Bank. That was a nice experience, also like from an industry perspective, but also from just being out of consulting for the first time in your life, because it's like in consulting, it's always you're there, but you're not really there. And then yeah, in Signum, I was head of fintech and blockchain services. And then around 2019, 2020, I got bitten by the DeFi bug. So I really just wanted to start my own company and build new financial primitives. So I kind of co-founded basically two companies. One was on the infrastructure side, so that provides like a node infrastructure to run blockchains. And the second one was kind of a startup where we wanted to tokenize asset management. So basically, that you would be able to do what asset managers do today, just in kind of tokenized portfolios, and this would be very kind of composable. So you can create portfolios out of portfolios out of portfolios. So we would kind of go with the infinite loop. And then about 2.5 years ago, yeah, I had a coffee with my co-founder John. So we were discussing building a new type of exchange on the internet computer, and yeah, all of a sudden, like we were super deep into the project, and then 2 years later, yeah, here we are. We've launched the product about 4 months ago. Yeah, that's been kind of the journey so far. So a lot of, I'd say, different types of careers, but always, I guess I'm a curious person by nature, so it's always been like industries where my curiosity can really be piqued.
That sounds cool. It sounds super, super varied.
Yeah, it's always had to learn things from scratch, like completely new set of skills that needed to be acquired.
That's cool. Obviously, you're a co-founder of a project now, and as you mentioned, co-founder a couple of times before. Could you talk us through like some of the roles that you held in your previous life? I'll say previous life, Web two, uh, previous life. Could you like talk us through some of those positions when you're in consulting? Like, what do you actually kind of did within that space?
Yeah, I mean, so I started consulting basically from a very junior position, and I think the last position I held was a director. So, I mean, consulting has like a nice hierarchy. So you always sort of like go from partner, director, or principal. Then you have the manager level, and there's like a couple of junior levels. So I started, yeah, pretty much as a junior analyst. So what you do there is pretty much you draw slides 24/7, crunch numbers, work on presentations. So my early part of the career was really becoming a PowerPoint guru and Excel master. So yeah, after that, I transitioned into the role of kind of being more the project manager. So you run smaller teams, you run part of a bigger project. And then, yeah, lastly, I was kind of director. So that was the position where you more or less do a lot of business development, but make sure everything runs smoothly, manage client relationships. You're not that hands-on anymore. But yeah, that was kind of the natural evolution of a consultant, I'd say.
That's because yeah, I was going to ask you if you could answer the age-old question of what do consultants do at one of the big four?
Yeah, I
But
mean,
you've kind of
like,
answered it there really at the
yeah.
different levels and things. So
Yeah, it's very different skill set again. It's like, when I mean, initially it's pretty straightforward. You're really into crunching numbers and delivering presentations. So you just work on your precision and your speed at which you can kind of deliver and analyze stuff, and then it becomes more of a soft skills type of job where you need to manage different personalities. You need to manage the client. You need to manage expectations, timelines, budgets. So it's more like, it is in a sense also very entrepreneurial, because you do have to, do a lot of acquisition all the time. So you're always in sell mode, but you always need to make sure that you deliver as well. So you're always wearing a lot of hats. So it is not very just straightforward. You do one thing or one project, but within the organization, there's like so many things that you have to do, and then there's, all the stuff that you have to do around it. So it's sort of like always, it keeps you busy. I mean, it's not just the client, the team, but then, you also have the organization, and then you have multiple roles within the organization, which you also need to do all the time or perform tasks. So like, do educations, perform trainings and stuff like that. So I think it's quite a dynamic job, and you do travel a lot. So if you like traveling, that's a perfect job for a person who likes to see the world.
yeah, it sounds quite sounds really entrepreneurial to be honest. I can imagine a lot of the skills that you learned in all those various different jobs there have like really helped you when it's come to like co-founding your own businesses, right? I mean, doing all the
Yeah, they do,
number
because
crunching, financial side, project
exactly.
management, the business development, client relationships, all that kind of stuff. Like it's great skills to learn.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nice part about it, is like, you really, you really learn the end to end of how a business runs. So like, not only the consulting business, but also client businesses. So you see, how kind of, say, the working level, middle management and top management think what's important, and then, how these relationships are managed between the different layers. So yeah, it does help a lot. It's like a good platform for for being a founder. I think like what it lacks a bit is sort of like the detailed knowledge. So as a consultant, you're never, the biggest expert in the world in anything. You're very like a generalist. But I mean, lots of times being a generalist also helps. So it's not always that you don't have to be the specialist in everything.
Yeah, for 100%. So then, how did that then turn from you being a consultant to then you launching the? Did you say there was a blockchain group that you started within? Was that within Deloitte when
Yeah, it
you were
was
there?
like, basically we had, so in 2017 there was a lot of companies kept coming to us. Hey, can you, we're a blockchain business. We need, like a proof of reserves, or can you do some attestation, etc., or can you help us with our token economic model, or something like, very new stuff. And we were like looking at it, like, wow, it's like what these guys are doing is pretty cool. Like, I mean, I was following Bitcoin for a while, but it was always just like Bitcoin, so you never kind of had the impression that there's anything else happening but Bitcoin. And then, we started working with all these projects, and we saw like, wow, what they're doing is super interesting. And then, this technology that they're using to power their business is crazy. And then at some point, yeah, you saw like this 2017, 2018 boom where everything just exploded. Bitcoin went to, I think, like 17,000 from 800 or something. It just became crazy. At some point, it was like really, you're going to conferences and stuff. You were, you were thinking, wow, people are just burning money here. Nobody's being rational anymore. And then it all imploded for a couple of years, and then everybody kind of became bearish. But I was still like, this industry is so interesting. The technology is crazy. I just want to stay in this and keep doing this. So, consulting was not kind of offering the opportunities anymore, because most of the client base got really wiped out, and the new kind of generation was not that into consulting. They had different needs, so perhaps not the same ones that the Gen ones had. Yeah, I decided to jump in, and yeah, that's when I joined Signum. So I still wanted to work in the industry, but more hands on than I would as a consultant. So that was kind of the transition.
That's cool. And was there a do you remember like a particular moment when you thought, you know what, I want to start my own project? This is it. Like I'm done with working with someone else. I've got these ideas. I need to launch something. Like, is there a moment that stands out, or was it more of a thing that just kind of happened over time?
No, you see, so I mean, um, yeah, how can I say it? Like when you work in a bank is a regulated business, right? So you can be very experimental. It's very confined to it's slow changing. So you cannot have new ideas, and these ideas will be like in 2 months implemented. It's more like they will be implemented, but maybe in 18 months, right? So at my time at the bank was like, I met a lot of other founders, foundations, protocols, they were building all this stuff. And I really saw like I was on top of the game. So I knew what was going on. I could see like the things that will be coming up. So, where kind of the industry's going. And initially, try to kind of do this within the bank, but then you really see, okay, this is going to be hard because in the regulated world what you're trying to do takes 2 3 weeks, 3 months, but in a banking environment this would take tons of money, a lot of back and forth with regulators, and 2 years down the line it's not going to be in anymore. So that's where I saw like, okay, if you really want to be in the game, you have to jump out of this kind of regulated world and then just kind of do your own project. And then those it was good, like but then you realize, hey, working in a corporation has its pros as well. So once you start your own business, there is no fallback. You are the fallback. So previously you always used to having a corporation behind you. There's HR, there's like just things get taken care of, which you don't notice that much while you're working in a bigger system. But once you're part of a small small team, you realize, oh man, it was nice having all this stuff.
100%. Yeah, I felt the same. Even completely different levels and scale, obviously. But when I launched Unveil a couple of years ago, going from a recruitment business where you just turned up at work and you had everything and it just worked, and all you
Yeah,
needed to do was build relationships with people and actually focus on recruitment, to then launching a recruitment company, and you go on day one, you go, right, oh no, wait, I haven't got a CRM system, I need to go and source one of those. And then yeah, okay, cool, I also need a LinkedIn recruiter license. And then you think, oh, actually, I need some form of like headset and calling stuff, and then you need to get a number, and then all this stuff that you just take for granted,
yeah,
emails and things like this, you just take for granted, right? And then when you launch something or start something, I mean, you're your own IT support, you're your own marketing, finance guy, all that sort of stuff.
yeah.
Um,
And before you know it, you have like 50 SaaS licenses, and you just have to figure out which ones are worth it and which ones are not.
yeah, yeah, 100%. So obviously you've had quite a I guess quite a fortunate background in terms of the skills that you've learned along the way that have really helped you now as a founder across all those different areas. If someone hasn't had that background, are there any like really key skills that you think someone needs to learn or needs to be aware of if they want to found their own company?
I don't know. I mean, that's a tough question. I mean, like I think the primary skill that you need to have as a founder is that you want to run your own business. So basically, that's, I mean, it's not actually a skill; it's more of a wish. But the primary skill, I don't know. You're never ready for this. So I could say anything, but pretty much once you start doing it, you just most of the stuff you learn by doing. I think the biggest skill is actually its persistence, and that you're not afraid of the unknown, and afraid of failure. I think that's like the two biggest skills that you can have as a founder, is just whenever things are uncertain or they look gloomy, somehow in the end they always work out, and you just have to go over that fear threshold, that before everything would get taken care of by other people, and now you need to take care of the stuff that maybe looks scary, or you think, oh no, company's going to end tomorrow, or we messed up or whatever. But you just have to keep chugging along. I guess that's the the main skill you have to have.
So I suppose it's more of the mindset, like having the
Yeah,
right mindset as opposed
100%.
to like the skill.
I mean, you will, like there's no coaching out there to prepare you as a founder. So honestly, like, you will be good in one thing, but then, you need to learn all the legal, regulatory, running the company, you become an expert in taxes, invoicing. It's like just stuff that, even if you have a formal accounting background, there's always going to be something that's going to give you, like, some new things. And legal contracting, all this stuff. You spend a lot of time working on contracts, which, you as an interpreter, you don't want to, but yeah, legal is a big part. Accounting is always a big part. Um, then, all the admin work. Yeah, a lot of stuff that you just have to take care of. I think it's kind of, you have to be comfortable wearing many hats. And then, there's also the business part. Like, usually you will do also a lot of marketing. You have to be the marketeer for the project as well. So yeah, and then you just pick up stuff whenever you see something's lagging. You basically, you pick it up and you do it. So that's kind of the skill to know where you need to pitch in and where don't. So usually, the one thing that you would like to do, you have, the team that does it. So, and then all the stuff that's kind of crappy usually lands at your table. So you have to take care of it. So yeah, that's
Do you think that everyone can be a founder?
no, definitely not. I don't think it's not for everyone. Like, you always, sometimes you would even question yourself, like, man, I just could have taken the easy way route, and then be like, still maybe arrive at the same destination. But I think at the end of the day, it's just like, if you like building things, and you kind of see the fruits of your labor, and it's cool, right? But it's not for somebody that's kind of completely risk averse and doesn't like to take any risks in life, because it is a big risk. You don't know what tomorrow brings, and you just have to somehow kind of get comfortable with this feeling that, you never know what's going to happen, like in 3 months time, or you come into a situation where you run out of money, the project runs out of money, and you have to somehow, still salvage, make it happen, survive, persevere. So I think that's kind of the situations where, you not everybody can go through this, or even wants to go through this. I think some people just like say, okay, cool, I'll have like a nice normal job, and not too stressful, because the stress levels can become like really, really crazy.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Because I speak to a lot of people, as you can imagine, especially in the Web3 space, where it seems like everyone, for almost everyone I talk to, wants to found a project of their own at some point. I don't chat to that many people that would say, you know what, no, I just want to do this particular job forever, right? Like a lot of people go, you know what, like I'd love to one day, or I'd love to be a co-founder one day, whatever it might be. It's just interesting to get your take on that, uh, really, because it's yeah, I think everyone can be a founder, but I don't think everyone should really. I think
Yeah,
you have to have the right approach
I
or
agree
the
with
right
you.
kind of thinking behind it.
But I think Web3 is also more entrepreneurial in general, because there's like so many avenues to explore, and there's so much untapped potential that there's still a lot of room where everybody, can can put something together and do a good project. There's also like a lot of, I mean, the VC industry is very developed. So be it, like, if you're raising tokens and stuff like that, it's pretty well developed how that runs. So I think a lot of people, the tokens made kind of this all this work, right? So if you launch or raise with a token, that's kind of the easier way to get to capital. Is, sometimes you think, hey, you might have a fitness business, you will run it for 10 years, and then a VC will come along and say, yeah, hey, here, 500,000 is the valuation. And you have a crypto company that's kind of has a prototype and is valued at 50 million, right? So
Yeah.
you also like it's always not really connected with the real world, the crypto world. So it is a very fun and special industry.
It's definitely more entrepreneurial than any
Yeah.
industry I've ever recruited into. I think probably part of that is because a lot of the projects are still so small that, yeah, you might join as a head of business development, for example. An actual fact, you'll need to get involved in partnerships, marketing, community building, social media stuff.
Hmm.
You might have to help the founders do a bit of product stuff as well, or you have to end up just wearing loads of different hats. And I think that lends itself quite nicely to more entrepreneurial types, people that don't necessarily need a a set description and want to be kind of
Yeah.
set in a particular box, for example.
Yeah,
Um,
everybody's like very self-driven, right? So, I mean, the people who don't work well in crypto, I mean, from a fit perspective, is the one that just kind of give me my instructions. They need to be very clear, and then I'll follow them and execute on them. It's like, there's a goal is like 300 meters away, and just find a path to it. That's most of the crypto description of work to be done.
yeah,
Just get
fight your
it to
way through the
work.
jungle.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. Could you talk us through what a day in the life of a founder at Helix Markets look like?
Yeah, sure. So basically, our day starts sort of. I mean, usually I would check all everything that happened on the platform, like between 6 and 8 in the morning. So just check like volumes, anything special that happened during the night. So we have like we're based in Central Europe, but most of our business activities actually in the Asian market. So kind of a lot of times something would happen during the Asian session. So either you wake up during the night or you just check everything in the morning. Reply if there's any replies for the community. Just kind of talk to everybody. Make sure everything's running smoothly. Then we have our daily meeting at around 9:30. So there we discuss what everybody's doing, what we're releasing, just planning out the day, what everybody's going to be doing, if we have any major releases. And then pretty much for the rest of the day, there's like, you plan what you would like to do. And then all just most of the time, just like random stuff comes up that you get stuck with. So be it on the finance side or, something with the product, something goes wrong, you're firefighting somewhere, you're preparing for a conference, like just very random. So there is, after the daily, the day is completely random most of the time. I wouldn't say it's very structured. So you have calls, etc., but very dynamic in general. So not a lot of structure after the morning session, I'd say.
Yeah, that's good to know. And I suppose as a founder, I mean, the work never stops, right? So I guess if you wanted to work 24 hours a day,
Oh yeah,
you
easily.
probably
I
could.
mean, just
Yeah,
yeah, it's not a problem to find work. It's just kind of managing the energy. So what the biggest challenge is like not to burn out, because it does happen way too fast, because you have to sometimes really go beyond, push it, to get some stuff done, but you also need to kind of know where it's a bit time to wind down, because otherwise you can't just go 200 all the time and think it's going to work out long term.
yeah. How do you, and this might be quite a tricky question to answer, but how do you manage burnout when not just for you, but also for the team? Like when they're working in a small startup and every role is so crucial within that team. How do you manage that burnout between the staff? Like, do you really encourage people to go away and take breaks, or like, is there a way or any advice you can offer there for anyone listening?
I mean, there's no good advice in it. I mean, like usually you feel it yourself when you burn out. If you have like at 10 a.m. in the morning, you're already feeling tired and you can go to sleep, right? That's when you're in too deep. Um, I mean, from the team perspective, what you want to do is like you I think the most important thing is that you don't push the team always like to 100, 200% all the time, because I mean, this will work for a while, but after a while, it's just kind of you will decrease the productivity. So what we found out for us that works best is that if we work towards larger milestones, and the closer we are to milestone, the more we push, and then after we reach that milestone, so be it like beta or go live or something, then we kind of take a couple of weeks where we just try to manage. Well, usually what happens is like after a big release, the couple of weeks after, you just fix stuff that goes wrong, and then
Yeah,
basically before you go on to the next thing, you kind of you know go at a lower pace, or reduce the workload a bit for everyone, so everybody can catch their breath, and then you go into the next thing.
and then push them again 200% until the next.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you do have to, but usually you don't want to. But sometimes, yeah, it's necessary that you just everybody needs to put in extra work or get stuff done. So I mean, usually when so the fun thing is when everybody puts their mind to it, you can get a lot done. You don't imagine how much you can get done, right? So usually, if you just look at the average and then when everybody's like switched on, you just get a lot more done.
And I think it really, really helps when you are building a startup and building teams, and when you are trying to get the most out of people in when you are pushing towards those milestones and stuff, like hiring people that have a similar sort of values or like really believe in the mission and this kind of stuff, like it makes it a lot easier, right? I think if you're trying to really push people and they're not necessarily that bought in, they're going to get burnt out a lot quicker than if someone is super, super passionate about what it is that you want to build.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's like the most important thing is just basically hiring the right people with the right chemistry. So I mean, and this is like there's no good rule to it. So I think it's like, yeah, if you find a good team that clicks, that's great, and then like everybody clicks on a personality level. So most of the Web3 space is remote anyways, so it's even more important to have good communication. People talk to each other. So what we had as a problem was like we were always not. I mean, we were not talking at least initially enough with each other. So it was like the daily was the time when we talk, and then we would just chat, right? But sometimes it's just easier to jump on a call for 10 minutes and talk and get things done. And if people don't talk, and mostly kind of in Web3, we are more on the introverted and extroverted side. I mean, the extroverts are more like the marketing and growth part of the
BD,
business. But
yeah.
yeah, on the product and dev side, it's mostly people who just like, yeah, I'll let me write code, right? Don't bother with other stuff. So so we need to kind of manage the communication flow and the right information get processed and yeah, that can always, I mean, that can lead to a lot of problems for teams that if there's not enough communication between them, regardless of how smart the individuals are.
100%. Could you introduce us to Helix Markets in a bit more detail?
Sure, yeah. Helix Markets is a hybrid DEX. Basically, we wanted to. So when we started building Helix, we had this vision that kind of there was no good crypto exchange out there that would fit, kind of give you control over your crypto, but also give you a great trading experience. So you always had either or. You would go to a Binance or at the time FTX, and you don't control your crypto, so somebody else controls your crypto, and kind of how the relationship between your crypto and somebody else holding it on your behalf is very vague. And I'm also myself. I lost some money or lost, yeah. I got some money stuck on FTX, and then like you always in
Okay.
these processes where you wait for funds, and you see the Mt. Gox situation that happened, like I think 2015, 2016, where people should be getting back billions now, but they'll be getting back Bitcoin at current prices, and now the Japanese government has $8 gazillion that they need to kind of sell Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So that was like the one part where but the trading experience was great. You had an order book, you can go on there, you sell, you buy, it's good liquidity, it's fast. You have an API if you want to run your bot, it's great. Like, so the whole experience part is cool. And then on the other hand, you had decentralized exchanges like Uniswap, where everything is sort of very non-custodial. You control your crypto at all times, but it's not sort of, it just works on one protocol. But right now we have about 300 different blockchains out there, right? So you have one platform that kind of vertically integrates into, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 protocols, but then doesn't support the other 380, right? And we wanted to look how can we bridge the all of these things where a user would have a great user experience, very simple, wouldn't have to onboard in 300 ecosystems, get 500 different browser plugin wallets, that wouldn't have to handle private keys, but it would be still secure. and on the other hand side, like offer them a good trading experience like they're used to from a centralized exchange. So that was kind of the premises of Helix, that we can bring together this multi-chain world on one platform with a great trading experience for both seasoned veteran traders, but also very newbie users.
Yeah, that's cool. And you launched on ICP, right? You're part of.
Yeah, we use the ICP as like our core protocol layer, but the ICP
Okay,
has one really cool feature, which is that it can talk to other chains. So basically, we have direct integrations into Ethereum, into Arbitrum, Bitcoin,
nice.
and in theory, like you don't need any bridges to move assets across these chains on Helix. You can just pretty much switch them, and we have a wallet for everything, and this wallet is run by our smart contract.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was going to ask why ICP, but I guess that answers that question. I presume that's why you guys chose
Yeah,
that ecosystem in the first
it
place.
was that. It was like so basically, it's called chain key technology. So basically, that the protocol holds the private key. It's kind of a very new way of doing custody or self-custodial mode. So where the only thing that user has to basically protect is his identity that with which he logs onto our system, but doesn't have to handle the key material. But neither we don't control the key as well. The key is basically secured by the blockchain itself. And then the other feature was the use of threshold ECDSA cryptography. That was one of the things where we saw a lot of potential, where most of the blockchains out there use threshold or use ECDSA cryptography to generate addresses, generate transactional payload, etc. And we could do that directly from our smart contract. So we can kind of have this interoperability between different protocols directly from our smart contracts.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I guess that really expands the market that you guys can look into, right? Like expand the users that can come and use the platform that be interested in it, and yeah, quite a good way of expanding, which is yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Um, I think on the surface, a lot of people would look at, founding a Web3 project and think that it's really glamorous. And obviously, you've touched on some of the things that are challenging. Um, when you first start something, like what's it really like when you're on the ground, first day, come in and think, right, we need to get this thing built? Is it fun? Is it stressful? Is it, yeah, what's it really like?
Well, I mean, the initial part is like it's it's super lightweight because you don't have a big team and everybody's working pretty much pro bono on the idea. So it's like you're doing architecture. You're just looking at putting a team together that's gonna start writing a proof of concept or like some sort of a rough demo. So that part is actually not the most stressful one. It's really fun. So there's not a lot of pressure. Most people are like, hey, I might try this. It might work. It might fail. You never know where it's going to lead to. So it's kind of very non-committal from all sides, right? So the when it becomes committal is after you at least raise like some angel checks or some seed money that gives you enough to build sort of kind of the alpha or the beta version of the product. So then it starts to become more serious. But initially, it's always like very, oh, how do we do this? How do we do that? It's very high level, and you're doing architecture. You're thinking about how you want to run this, what it's supposed to do. So it is very, very nice. And yeah, I think that those phases are like really cool when you look back into it. What kind of road you walked. It's like actually the first starting out part is the one of the most fun parts that you can have.
And talk to us about the funding side of things. I can imagine there's a bunch of people listening who think, right, how do I even go about it? Do I go angel, VC, family and friends? Do I launch a token? Uh, yeah, what was your kind of thought process there? How did you go about it? Do you have any advice? I know there's about
I
15
mean,
questions in one there, but
yeah, the raise is always. I mean, it's like a startup. You're pretty much always in raising mode, so you're always running out of money because I mean, just the nature of a startup is that it takes time to build product, and it takes time to build adoption. So you rely on the investor funds to get things done. I think the most important thing about raising is pretty much like, you know, you really need to kind of follow the protocol of what is expected. So, I mean, initially it's probably going to be people that know you and that trust you or believe in you. So it's going to be friends and family. It's going to be maybe some angels that you know. They're going to help you out with checks, but they're so you're never going to get initially the money because you had the best idea in the world, but because people believe that you know you can deliver what you promise and you're a trustworthy individual. So if you're like
Yeah.
um, yeah, that's basically it's an investment into you. And even later on when VCs or you get like the next round of Series A or like a bigger seed round, it's always about investing into the founder. So I mean, yeah, idea means a lot, but it means even more that people believe that you can you're not just going to burn the money like crazy, but you are going to have some responsibility with it, and that you will deliver this, and that you're a stable person that can kind of manage a team, know how to run the business, and that will at the end deliver some value on the investment.
Yeah. And
So
how do
everything
you
else is
start?
pretty
Like,
much secondary, but I think it's really like people invest in people.
so you have to get out there and network and meet the right people and put yourself
Yeah,
out as well.
it helps. Yeah, that helps.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, like, how, say if someone doesn't have a network, say if, 'cause there's a lot of founders in Web3 who maybe don't have the background that you particularly do, and maybe don't have the connections in this kind of stuff. How does someone even start? Like, do you just get on LinkedIn and just reach out to a bunch of
No, I think the best
angel
way
investors,
in
or
crypto, to be honest, is to go to conferences. So
okay,
visit conferences, maybe, do some research, find a conference that kind of works for whatever, you're building or you're trying to do. There's like so many different themes, right? And conferences all over the world. So um, yeah, you just need to know what on the conferencing circuit where you need to go, but you also don't overdo it, because this can be like also a catch 22. Some people then just travel to conferences and never have time to work again. So
yeah,
yeah, I'll just say go there, meet people, network, and then out of that, you build your kind of like little network that helps each other. Usually, in crypto, founders help other founders. So if you know other founders, they will introduce you to their network. They will help you out. So everybody's just, because you know how hard it is to make it, right? You're very inclined to help other people out as well. So yeah, just kind
that's
of
good.
go out there, meet with people, talk with people, talk with projects that do something similar, talk with projects that have done something similar, get to know the people. Then, like a lot of online communities, you can join them, discuss, become friends, but generally, like people in crypto do, they are willing to help, but there's also something called like social capital. So nobody's just gonna help you because you ping them on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'm also a founder. It's like, there is sort of a trust score that people have, so they won't just recommend you to anybody, because everybody has a reputation to keep. So
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think we're at a very fortunate time in the crypto Web3 industry that everyone's still trying to help each other out to grow the
yeah,
space. In a couple of years' time, when things are a little bit bigger and there's more people in the industry and stuff, maybe then things will start to get a little bit more competitive. And say if a founder reaches out to you looking to start a similar sort of project, maybe people will be less likely to try and help each other. But we're at a very fortunate time where
yeah.
actually
I hope we
everyone's
don't
so up
arrive
for
at
having
that
those
point.
chats.
It's kind of, I mean, this is the nice part about crypto, is really like people help each other out. So that's like one of the nicest parts that you can have. It's like, still very early, still a small community, but it's good that people do help each other out, and then they answer calls, they go to bat for you. It's that is the nice part. So,
Yeah, it is. I think it is. That's one of
hmm.
the main things I like about the space actually. From recruiting into to more traditional industries and stuff previously, and then over the last few years going full time into Web3. Yeah, it's one of the nicer things about the industry to see people being so collaborative and chatting on all sorts of
Yeah.
different community groups on Telegram, Discord, all this kind of stuff. Um, yeah, it's a nice part of the industry. Um, so, say if someone doesn't want to be a founder and they want to just build a successful career for themselves, I know it's quite vague because there's all sorts of different opportunities in Web3. There's room for every skill set, to be
Mhm.
honest. Do you have any advice for anyone looking to build a successful career? Like anything they should be aware of, or any mindset they need to have, or anything like this?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think for developers, it's different than for growth, right? So, I mean, as a developer, you just need to be on top of what's vogue right now in terms of programming languages, etc., and that will get you hired. Like that, you shouldn't have a problem finding a team, finding a job, right? As long as you're good in like okay, right now Rust is all the rage. So if you got a good Rust skills, you're probably off the market in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
um, and for growth, I guess your network is your net worth. So for growth and marketing, yeah, it's basically your network and how many people you know, who can you like kind of connect with the team. So you usually you also have a quite good career path. I think for creative as well, it's like good designers are always welcome. So everybody's looking for good UI UX because usually crypto or blockchain UI UX was very dev driven, and now it's becoming more and more user friendly. So I think yeah, there's something for everyone, and I think the career path, as you said it before, it's like you might come into a company, work on marketing, then you become, you start working on growth or on product. Like it's really it takes in so many ways, but I think in general you just have to have some sort of a basic curiosity about yourself, and you always need to like give into this curious impulses to learn more, and that will just drive you forward in blockchain, because there's like so many things. Once you just peel the onion, basically you find out, oh, that's how this works, and then there's like 3,000 other things that you need to figure out, and then you realize, oh, that's just one protocol, there's like 300 of them. Oh, then they work differently. How do I, yeah, just like putting everything together, it's like a never ending story.
Yeah, it is. It's tough to keep up sometimes with the
Yeah,
amount of
you
development
can't
that's
like
happening.
right now at this point.
Yeah.
It's impossible. It's just too many different avenues. So you just kind of stay in your lane pretty much.
Do you think then if someone's joining the space for the first time, they need to almost work out like the particular things that really interest them and just try and become an expert in that particular area? Or do you think there's still space for people who have that like really broad knowledge across?
I mean, it depends on which part. Like, a lot of people now are just joining for the meme coins, right? They don't even care about
Yeah,
technology. It's
that's
just
true.
like, I need a wallet. Which wallet can support my meme coins? So, uh, but I mean, like, it really depends. Are you more on the cryptography protocol level? It's like a different skill set. Are you into building smart contracts and interactions? It's like a different thing, right? So, I still think there's a lot of things for everyone, right? So there's not only like the builders, but there's also like a service industry around it. There's all the indexing, the information that you need to run this, oracles, code audits. Like there's thousands and thousands of different avenues to explore, and then like new things are coming up every day. So I think you just need to start with one thing. Like usually before, traditionally the path was like you start with Bitcoin, you understand Bitcoin, and you discover Ethereum. Once you discovered Ethereum, right, and you understand Ethereum, then you're like, oh shit, there's all these other altcoins. Like, where do I go from now, right? So that's kind of like the
Mm.
usual kind of induction into crypto. So you become hooked with the idea and vision of Bitcoin, and then move on to Ethereum, and then from Ethereum, the world is your oyster, pretty much.
And then you get lost in
And
the
then you
world
get
of
lost,
Web3 and
yeah,
crypto and
yeah.
never come back out again.
Exactly. Then it's too late.
Is there anything that you'd love to make people aware of before they join the industry?
Well, it's yeah, it's very competitive. So I mean, it's not like we're at a stage where I still remember in 2017, you could just write a white paper and you would be raising, millions.
Yeah.
So we're way past that stage where just a good idea will get you funded. You need to show product, right? Everybody right now can deliver product, so you need to be good in if you want to make it, you probably need to show product first, and then kind of all the marketing stuff.
Okay, nice. Nice. And I always feel that the community side of Web3 is definitely something. If someone's stepping into Web3 for the first time, in Web2, you're not really used to having people who are so bought into the project that they're asking
Yeah.
you questions about it like every day. Like you don't necessarily have access to the customer, let's say, as much as you do in Web3. So I think sometimes something to be aware of is almost like the pressures that can come from the
Oh yeah,
community
definitely.
sometimes.
I mean, the community is like a very big part of crypto, and especially like if you go on crypto Twitter, it's just a world in its own. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's like so fun because everybody takes everything so lightly, but there's also a lot of pressure. So I mean, the most important thing is always just deliver what you promise, because usually most of the friction comes when either projects over promise and under deliver, or you set the buyer an expectation too high, or you just like you use every phrase in the book of what you're building, and basically you cannot deliver any of them, and then that creates friction between the community and the project. But mostly, like, if you kind of stick to your roadmap, deliver, then you and the community, it will be a love story.
I like that. I like that a lot. Um, so, Gorazd, to finish up, then there's a question that I always ask everyone. Knowing what you know now about business, leadership, technology, Web3, everything you've learned over your career so far, if you could go back to the start, that junior consultant, like stepping into that role for the first time, um, what advice would you have for your younger self?
Just buy Bitcoin and hold. Don't do anything else.
Just retire, buy Bitcoin,
Don't
and then
bother.
quit.
Just buy, like. No, I'm joking. I don't know. Like, it's hard. I think I wouldn't change anything, to be honest. I would just go the same route. It is hard, and it's always like sort of a bit of a struggle, but like at the end of the day, it's like super rewarding because you're just building something, together with a team. So it is like a small unit of people that over time deliver product, and it's like the most amazing thing when you see your product being used by others. You get good feedback, you get bad feedback, but at the end of the day, it's like, for me, yeah, having the freedom to do what I love to do, and then just be experimental with it. It's just the greatest thing in the world. Like, regardless of all the stress and hassle that comes along with it, just kind of shipping and being a product maxi. That's the greatest thing you can ever have. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Gorazd, if anyone's listening has got any extra questions, they want to find out more about Helix, or
Yeah.
ask you any questions, and maybe pick your brain about being a founder or raising funds or whatever it might be, are they able to reach out to you on like Twitter
Yeah,
or
yeah, sure.
LinkedIn or anything like that?
They can reach out to me on Twitter. So I think my it's Gorazd OV is the handle, or they can reach out to us through our Discord channel, Helix Markets. They can reach out to us on Open Chat. They can reach out to me via LinkedIn Connect, or yeah, I think they can try out Helix Markets at helixmarkets.io. So we got a ton of channels, and then we're usually very responsive on all of them. And we do have a Telegram channel for Helix as well. So yeah, I pick up everything. So if somebody drops a question, I'll pick it up.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, Grass, thank you very much for taking the time to have a chat today. Yeah, it's brilliant to find out a little bit more about your journey, and do a deep dive into what it means to be a founder in Web3. And yeah, you've given us a really good insight into the ups and downs, and what it's all about. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah, thanks
Um,
for hosting.
no probs, and yeah, I'll catch up with you soon.
Perfect.
Thanks, man. Take care.